We are given f of x plus x squared times the cube of f of x equals 9, and f of negative 1 equals 3. We're asked to determine f prime of negative 1. To find f prime of x, we will have to perform implicit differentiation, and therefore the first step is to differentiate both sides of the equation with respect to x. And on the left, we first differentiate f of x with respect to x, which is f prime of x. And then we have plus, to differentiate x squared times the cube of f of x with respect to x, we need to apply the product rule, where the first function is x squared, and the second function is the cube of f of x. So applying the product rule, we have the first function of x squared, and then times the derivative of the second function with respect to x. To differentiate the cube of f of x with respect to x, we need to apply the chain rule, where the inner function is f of x, and the outer function is a cubing function. The derivative with respect to x is 3 times the square of f of x times the derivative of the inner function, which is f prime of x. And then we have plus the second function of the cube of f of x times the derivative of the first function with respect to x, and the derivative of x squared with respect to x is 2x. Equals on the right, the derivative of 9 with respect to x is 0. Now we need to begin solving the equation for f prime of x by first isolating the f prime terms on one side of the equation. Notice right now we have two f prime terms here and here. The next step, we will subtract the cube of f of x times 2x on both sides of the equation. So we have f prime of x plus, let's write this next product as 3x squared times the square of f of x times f prime of x equals, on the right, let's write this as negative 2x times the cube of f of x. Next, we factor out f prime of x on the left, which gives us f prime of x times the quantity 1 plus 3x squared times the square of f of x equals negative 2x times the cube of f of x. And now to solve for f prime of x, we divide both sides of the equation by the quantity 1 plus 3x squared times the square of f of x. Simplifying, we now have f prime of x equals negative 2x times the cube of f of x divided by the quantity 1 plus 3x squared times the square of f of x. And now we can determine f prime of negative 1. Substituting negative 1 for x, we have negative 2 times negative 1 times the cube of f of negative 1 divided by the quantity 1 plus 3 times the square of negative 1 times the square of f of negative 1. And we also know f of negative 1 is positive 3, so this gives us negative 2 times negative 1 times the cube of 3, all divided by 1 plus 3 times the square of negative 1 times the square of 3. Simplifying, in the numerator we have positive 2 times 27, which is 54. In the denominator we have 3 squared, which is 9. 3 times 1 times 9 is 27. 1 plus 27 is 28. And 54/28 simplifies to 27/14. F prime of negative 1 is 27/14. I hope you found this helpful.